Yeah, hello, my name is Pennek. I play a lot of From Software games, and I've been playing this game maybe a little bit too much. So I'm doing Blindfolded today, when I have some lovely co-commentators with me. Please introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Metek. I've ran the NPC category in this game a little bit without a blindfold.
And I'm Cyber. I've been following Pennek's journey through all of this.
And I'm Babzia. I'm running other blindfolded games and tried to learn this game, but haven't succeeded so far. So Pennek will show you how it's done properly.
Yeah. But yeah, I just like a few quick things before we start the run. I want to show that I'm not actually cheating. The way you do that is by shining a very bright light, like a flashlight. I have one right here, through your blindfold. And if nothing comes through, that means it's a legit blindfold. So yeah, there we go. Also, I won't be saying much during the run itself because I should not be able to hear anything. I'll be with myself only. And you guys will enjoy the show with my lovely commentators instead. And yeah, that's pretty much everything there is to say. You guys got anything else? Otherwise, I think we're just going to start.
I think we're good.
Good to go.
On the other side, Pennek.
See you on the other side.
Okay, yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, we can go now. He won't know.
So yeah, this is Elden Ring. So right now Pennek is just checking that he was loaded in because there was some cutscenes in the start. And now we just gotta do the first part of the game where it's a little bit of a tutorial section. We have to go down and die to a boss. It's a scripted death. So we're just gonna run off the edge when we get to it.
Yeah, so to start off, like the main thing is going to be just like general blindfolded movement and fundamentals. So like Bubzia, as someone who's done a lot of blindfolded, kind of take us through that for people that might never seen a blindfolded run.
So the first thing you can see here is that Pennek uses rolls especially a lot here in this section. Rolls are a very good form of normalized movement because they move you a certain distance every time you do it, and you can like buffer them, you can like mash the rolls, and it will always do the next roll as soon as you hit the first one. And here's the boss, and you died, unfortunately. No worries though, that was all scripted, all good. We will now teleport into the next area of the tutorial where Pennek will again do some blindfolded tech, which is counting, because what also is very important is counting the footsteps. You can hear here, it's very faint probably in the stream, but you can hear the footsteps very clearly until he reaches this door, hits it, and as soon as you interact with it, of course, the footsteps stop. You can hear the animation, and you can see very, very much blindfolded normalized movement here. Especially important also here, you can see it, this corner, for example, this pillar. Pennek will try to go to normalized positions, like this pillar that he knows, okay, he can hold straight into the wall there, and he will always remain in the same position there. So these are kind of the fundamentals, how this whole movement works in this game, and everything will be based off of that now, all the setups that you will see upcoming.
Exactly, and this door here can also be a normalized movement because this door will put you into the middle of it, and it will also be a good spot to recenter your camera sometimes. Exactly. So we're going to see a lot of normalization between rocks and in corners and everything like that.
Yeah, so another really important thing to this run is the patch that we're playing on. We're not playing on the first or the most recent patch, we're playing on 1.04.1. And that's a very special patch because it's the first patch where they introduced a new setting into the game where you could turn off auto camera rotation. So in Elden Ring and many third-person games, when you move around, the camera automatically rotates to follow behind you. But now in this patch, you can turn it off. So that means if Pennek moves to the left, the camera will not move. That makes all of this movement you're seeing possible, because without it, the camera would be moving a little bit. None of this would be normalized. It would all be inconsistent, and the run would be almost impossible. But instead, we can turn it off in this patch. But we can't play on the most recent patch because we're going to be using a bunch of glitches this run. This run is very, very hard. Pennek is the only person in the world that has ever completed this run. And so we need to use everything at our disposal, and that is absolutely including glitches. And there were glitches that were patched, and also abilities that were very strong that got nerfed that we're also going to use to make the game a bit easier. And so we really need to be playing on exactly this patch for this run to work.
Exactly. We also saw Pennek go up to the church there, and Pennek has then now actually implemented some faster strats into the run actually. So usually he would take that grace in the church for safety, but now he has become more comfortable with the run and is just running directly over to this grace over here, we will see in the distance very soon, to get the horse. So that's also a balance you have to like do sometimes, like, you know, you still want safety, but you also want speed at the same time.
Exactly, that is very important in blindfolded runs. As you said, Pennek is optimizing this run still. For those who don't know, the PB and world record is right now at 1 hour and 7 minutes only. So very, very fast, and probably Pennek is going to go for a sub 1 hour run soon. I'm really excited to see that. But now we have actually a cutscene and a new character coming, and we get our horse. Isn't that cool?
Really cool, the best character. The horse is actually really important for the run because the horse has a lot of standardized movement. So the double jump from the horse gives you a set move, set distance every time, which is really important.
Yeah, also the running and the sprinting with the horse, you can hear the gallop, so you can count those as well. A little bit less normalized than double jump, but great for long distances.
You can also see what Pennek is doing here. Very often you will see him finding a grace and then reloading or like teleporting back to that grace, because that will always put you back into a normalized position. He knows how the camera will look like afterwards, and it's just nice that you can reset like that. And even if you make mistakes, for example, right now, you could go back to that grace and redo the movement again. So, where are we going now, actually?
We're going down to an NPC because we need a special weapon. So this whole route evolves around getting Serpent Hunter. So in order to get to Serpent Hunter, we need to get to the Raya fight, but Raya is actually blocked by Godskin Noble. So we need a way to kill Godskin Noble. And to do that, we need a bunch of stuff. So this is one part of everything that we need to get, and we're going to go down to first get the Reduvia weapon, which is a really special weapon because it both has bleed and it's also a weapon that's able to kill Godskin Noble with a pivot swap, but we will get into that later.
Yeah, and you're already seeing some of the optimizations here, because very often when people are doing blindfolded for the first time, when they're rooting it out, they need to see where they're going, but Pennek doesn't bother doing that anymore. So we're going to see a lot of that where you can't see where we're going.
Exactly. We will also see Pennek do a quit out here. This is to unload the fog wall here for just a little bit. It's actually still loading in now that Pennek is going in-game again, but it takes around 10 seconds for the fog wall to load, so he can just go immediately down into the cave to get a grace. So this is kind of a safety grace, because we are going to get up to fight a NPC here, and that can be, yeah, RNG, basically.
Difficult, yeah.
NPCs have like random movement, so that'll be really fun.
It's also one of the most impressive fights, in my opinion, because this one is no glitches, just pure skill. He will try to hear for some audio cues, but you will see what I mean when the fight just starts in a few seconds. It is really, really cool if it works out. But yeah, it's very random, unfortunately.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
let's
So
hope
just-
for the best.
So to give some context about this, I will try to explain everything the Pennek is doing in this. So right now he's running up and he's waiting to hear the water. So right when he hears the water coming up here real soon, here's the water, he's going to stop, turn 90 degrees and then recenter the camera. Then he's going to run 10 footsteps very precisely. He's going to hear the water, then get into a stance. Now he's going to wait to hear 4 footsteps from the NPC and then do a weapon art. Just missed it. That should normally be consistent, but now we're going to see the NPC fight here.
Yeah, so this is mostly just reacting and feeling, and trying to stall out until our NPC friend comes to help us as well. Another thing that Pennek also has at his disposal is he's playing as a female character, and that's actually for this fight, because the NPC is a male, so every single time he hears a male grunt sound, he knows he hit the enemy, and a female grunt sound means he got hit, so he knows he took damage, whereas he won't be able to tell if he was playing as a male character.
Exactly. And another thing Pennek is also doing a lot is doing 4 swings and then rolling back 1 or 2 times, mostly 2 times, and that's to get away from safety, and that's usually a pretty safe way of playing it.
It's a long, heavy fight right now, very intense. Oh, the NPC died. That might potentially be bad, but
Nice.
he got
Oh,
this.
nice.
Very, very nice.
Clutch bleed proc right there. So yeah, that fight can go in many different ways and is all up to RNG, but you still have some game sense that you can try to use, and also the strats of hitting 4 times then going away for safety. There's also other things you can do, like listening for when the NPC heals, because if the NPC is healing, then you also have time to heal. So there's definitely like strats that you can do here, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be advancing through the game here. We're going to go into Liurnia. A lot of people don't know casually that you actually don't need to do Stormwind Castle whatsoever. You can just skip straight through into Liurnia by just going on this outside path that we're going to take over here, because we want to get further into the game and some access to some new areas.
We also saw Pennek just quit out of the game right there. That's to reset the enemies, because earlier we heard a troll land, and that troll has a blast attack or raw attack that will actually fly and hit us off the horse. So we just do a quit out there to reset the enemy, so it will go back up and then not annoy us.
And especially here in the beginning of the run, you will see a lot of movement because we need to go from A to B. We need to pick up lots of items in preparation for the later bosses and glitches that we're going to use. So there is lots of walking and lots of, especially pathing going on with like very specific setups from grace to grace, like you see right now. Yeah, so this might be a very good time for a quick donation if you have one.
All right, I've got a couple actually. I've got $50 coming in from Len. They say, what an absolutely amazing game show. Congratulations to everyone, and let's keep the marathon going. Thank you very much for that generosity. Time for one more?
Thank you. Yeah, you can go one more.
All right, we got one more from Joey Mack, $30 coming in, saying, as a lover of lore, donations goes to Hiss, all the cutscenes. And that is an upcoming incentive that we are looking to meet. So thank you very, very much.
So coming up to this section here, we're going through this bridge, and casually a lot of people might not have found this path, but you can go through this path and skip the whole castle. But there's a very specific thing coming up here. We're going to do a wrong warp coming up. And for that, the game world is actually made of squares deep down below. And all the squares has a default location that it will teleport you if you quit out the game while it's loading you back into another grace. So we're going to go up and hit a very the outside of that square, and then do a forced quit out of the game.
Yeah, basically how wrong warps work in this game is we just confuse the game and have it not know where to put us, but it knows what square we were in. So it puts us in the default location, which normally there isn't a way to go to. And the way that we're going to be confusing the game here is by Alt F4, like quitting out of the game during the loading screen. So this means that this will be on a unrestricted rule set if you were to look at the speedrun.com leaderboard, because the normal any percent doesn't allow you to do Alt F4. There's an alternate way to do the wrong warps, but it would be much less consistent. And as I said, we need to use everything we can to make this more consistent. That's why we're going to be using that. That does mean that zips would be legal, if you know what they are, but zips would be ridiculously difficult. So yeah, we're not going to do any of the 5-minute strats for this run.
Yeah, and another fun fact with the wrong warp that's upcoming right now. So Pennek, you will not see it, but Pennek actually needs to quit out into basically the desktop and then reopen the game while blindfolded. He needs to, he has like a particular strat where he hits the Windows key and types E and into the search bar. And because he's done that so often, Elden Ring will be the first place on the search bar, and he will just like mash it open until it suddenly starts. And yeah, easy peasy opening a game blindfolded. That's like a super cool strat, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Forcing Windows to recognize the game when you only press E.
Yeah, so about a few hours ago, I came in here and Pennek was just here, just mashing Windows key E, and I was like, "What are you doing over here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm priming the PC," because he needed to get the PC to think, "Oh, every single time you type E in the search bar, it means Elden Ring. It doesn't mean any other game that's been installed."
Yeah, nice.
Kind of a fun strat.
So yeah, we load in, and then Pennek can hear the troll footsteps in the background, and that means that he knows that he actually got the wrong warp correctly. If he didn't get the wrong warp correctly, he would likely either spawn out of bounds or be maybe at the first step or some other location. But he knows, because he could hear the troll footsteps, that he is in the right location.
Yeah, so we're now in Liurnia. It's a really big area, part of the game. So, but there's actually a bunch of teleporters that just kind of move you around the area, which casually it kind of is very confusing and disorientating. But For the speedrun, obviously, we know where we go, so we're going to particular ones and taking them just to cut down on the amount of running that we need to do here. So we're heading over to teleport to take us to the academy.
And I also hope that you like the camera angle that we have right here. This is another part about the optimizations that you do for a run. So the first time that Pennek, put a route together, he would usually need to see where he was going when he was routing. But now that you then get a base route going, then you start to optimize your inputs, and you could turn 180 to see where you're going, but that's just more inputs you need to do. So to optimize the run, Pennek is not turning the camera sometimes, so we get this lovely view of sometimes not even the character.
Yeah, and optimizing the route in Blindfolded doesn't just mean like speed or consistency like you'd be used to in other games. It's also number of inputs. Like we've kind of touched on it, but it's probably worth reiterating. The amount of memorization required for this run is just truly gargantuan. I think it's something in the order of several thousand inputs of the sort of 4 steps left, 3 rolls to the upright, get on the horse, 3 double jumps forward. Like 5,000 of those is inside Pennek's head, because he doesn't just need to remember the whole 1.5 hour run. He needs to remember every single backup for every single situation that could occur. So it's truly monumental. So if he can come up with a strat that might not even be faster, might not even be more consistent, but if it's less inputs, that's just more consistent and easier. So that's a really important kind of optimization.
Yeah, and also important for the memory part is that it's not only so much that he needs to memorize, but it's also the precision that he needs to memorize those in, because even one misremembered number, for example, if he does 4 rolls instead of 3 rolls in specific parts, that means the run is dead. Like, it's really, really precise that he knows exactly which setups to use when and how many rolls to do.
Yeah, and Pennek is incredibly good at this, and so I have 100% confidence he will complete the run. But in principle, we might not be able to finish this, because if Pennek just can't remember the next inputs, the run is dead. You just cannot continue because he doesn't know what to do. So that is a possibility, but I'm sure that Pennek's got it under control.
Let's not jinx it.
Yeah. So here, going over to get the academy key, because we're going to need to go into the academy later, so we may as well pick that up now. So it's guarded by a dragon, which is a little bit worrying, but it should be fine. It's a little bit tricky to get into the exact spot where the key is, because the dragon kind of pushes you a bit in a slightly inconsistent way. But Pennek has some strats to try to move around and try to find it. Let's see if he can get it right away here.
There we see this whole rock formation here. There's basically 2 corners that Pennek can get stuck in. So he knows that he's always in one or the other, and then he can always back it off from one of those. And here he quits out to reset the dragon.
Exactly. Usually what I've seen is that he goes a bit further to the right of the position, and then he can instantly grab it without quitting out. But this is exactly the backup. Very clean. Does he know that he got it? Because there are 2 items that he can pick up, but they should make a different sound cue from what I remember. Does he know is the question.
Yeah, is there 2 key items? It did make a rare item.
I think there's 1 key item and then 1 normal, I think some souls or something. But it seems he's confident. He shrugged his shoulders, so...
Yeah, he seems slightly concerned about something.
He might test it here.
Yeah, he can test it by interacting with the door, because the key is to open this door right here, so he should know that he got the right item right here, actually.
So now he knows he got the right item. There you go.
Head is nodding.
Nice.
Very good. And yeah, we only go here to activate the Grace, and then we kind of go out again, because we still have other stuff to do. We're gonna go later here back to this area when we are a bit better equipped for it.
Exactly, and Pennek is actually deviating from the route a little bit. This Grace, you usually first take it later, so this could also mess up the menus. So now Pennek has to actually remember that, the menus change because of the amount of Graces you have in the menu. So I hope that doesn't bite us later. And here we're actually going to jump down. You can see up in the corner, a stake of Marika is in this area. So dying in this area will then give us a pop-up to respawn at the Grace, or the stake. And this is actually a pretty large skip, actually. This whole area is actually a really big area, and if you didn't jump down and do this, you would have to go over a big bridge with a lot of enemies. So this actually saves a good amount of movement.
Yeah, it's very kind of Elden Ring one of the only FormSoft games that does some checkpoint system like that. Like in Dark Souls 1 and 2 especially, that you have to run like 10 minutes, 20 minutes sometimes to the boss again if you die. Here,
It feels like it. At least.
it feels like it for sure. So yeah, here you can unfortunately restart at these stakes very often before bosses. Now,
It's a really nice quality of life thing
Yeah.
they added for the game, that you can just respawn right outside the boss. And yeah, here Pennek is now going over to a teleporter, and he always knows that he's near the teleporter because he can hear the teleporter is making like an ambient sound around it. So this teleporter will actually take us really close to EG, and EG is a very important part of the route because he will actually sell you both Somber Stones 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is really important for the route in terms of the damage. We needed Reduvia, but we also need to upgrade it to +4 in order to have enough damage to kill Godskin Noble.
yeah, and EG is like, even in the visual speedruns, it's like every single run goes to EG. It's like such an important character. Just to get these Somber Stones is so important early on. And you usually want to anyways run with weapons that use these Somber Stones, because if you recall, in Elden Ring there are like 2 types of upgrade materials, like the Somber and the normal smithing stones. And it's just like so not worth it to upgrade normal weapons because they scale in like how many stones you need. So to upgrade the weapon to maximum on like the normal smithing stones, you need like a lot of materials. Whereas the Somber weapons, you just need 1 of each, like Somber 1, Somber 2, Somber 3, and so forth. So it's very convenient that he sells these just like right here.
And that area that Pennek actually just ran through has gone through a lot of iterations over the time. So I remember the first route that Pennek had there, that it was running through the enemies, and those enemies has homing missiles that can hone in on you. And then when you get hit, your character can move a bit and throw you off course. So that's an area that's probably have gone through like 5 iterations at this point, I think. So it looks really easy, but in the start it wasn't.
Yeah, any enemies with ranged attacks, especially magic homing in attacks, are very, very scary for us. Because if we ever get hit, that's unpredictable. It's going to move us a little bit. That's really bad and puts us off route. We're actually going to be picking up a skill to really help out with areas like that coming up pretty soon. But yeah, like looking out for anything like that, that's really scary. And you might also notice that the route is a little bit all over the place in some ways. Like, we went all the way over to EG, but then we didn't speak to him. We picked up the Academy Key, but we didn't actually go into the Academy yet. This is all actually to minimize the risk, because what we don't want to do is be holding on to loads of runes for a long time. So what he's done is he's set everything up, got all the way to the merchant, so that then when he does have the runes, he can just go straight there and spend them immediately and not have to be doing any kind of movement around enemies where he could die and lose those runes. So that's why we do the things in the order that we're doing.
Exactly, because it's really hard to trace where you might have died, especially if you got off course. But there's also the thing in the game where the runes will actually be set back, I think 5 or 10 seconds before you died. So you don't know where your runes actually are, because they don't make any noise or anything.
Yeah, it would be not a fun time to collect those if you die once, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, where we're actually going now is something that you might not really see in many speedruns these days anymore of the game, because it's quite a detour that we're gonna do now. But we're gonna go to Caelid, where we get some runes first of all, and a weapon art that will gonna help tremendously with the movement of the run. I believe actually it was such a powerful movement tag that they patched it out. Is correct, right?
They hugely nerfed it, mainly because it was incredibly good in PvP. You were invulnerable like 99% of the time, and it moved a ridiculous distance. But yeah, this is one of the reasons why we play on this patch, because it was heavily nerfed later. But yeah, this is a really actually cool strat that I'm really glad is in the run, because this is a strat that I've seen people do in randomizers and bingos to get like a really quick head start in the run, get a ton of runes, and get some a really powerful weapon art as well. And so, yeah, we're going to be doing it here by fighting the Knights Cavalry in Caelid, because we have a very cool strat that, even though it's a very late game area, and normally it'd be incredibly difficult for us to kill the enemy, we have a way to do it with base stats and a base weapon that you too can try at home, actually. It's a really fun thing to do, so it's cool.
So in order to get to Caelid, we're going to use a hidden teleporter here. I think you get it hinted in like a quest line that you're going to do. he's all good. So it's really hidden here behind these bushes. Like he wasn't supposed to get stuck there at the wall so long, so he might be a few jumps short.
Yeah, he wanted to be more to the right.
Yeah.
So he.
There is the teleporter to the right.
Should be able to hear it, so hopefully he can find it.
Warm.
Warm.
Oh. Oh. Yeah.
So he could hear the teleporter there, and the closer and closer he got to the teleporter, the louder the ambient noise became. So he could hear when he got closer and closer to it. But yeah, he wasn't usually supposed to be stuck in that church wall. I think he was a little bit too far to the left. So yeah, and also enjoy the no horse cam. We just get to see the scenery.
Beautiful.
It's great.
Also,
Yeah.
that enemy does nothing there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's blind.
Probably.
Yeah, Pennek actually mentioned to me that that run is actually, I think it's the longest run in the game that we just saw with like no graces. And he was like, that's the one place I don't want it to go wrong because it's such a big time loss. If he has to do it again, it's going to be very demoralizing. But so it's really great that he managed to back it up. And that's the kind of stuff where like that really shows like the skill and the experience that Pennek has. He can't just execute on this run. He has such a good feeling of like, okay, I've made a mistake, but I've probably made this mistake before. Like I've been in this situation so many times. Has a feeling of how he might back it up, and he did manage to recover from that situation, which is super difficult to do.
Exactly, yeah. That's the game sense coming in there, because when you do more and more runs, you start to get like a sense of what your characters do.
Oh,
That is not so good.
that is incredibly unlucky. Have you ever seen that?
I did not. I saw him getting poisoned before at that point, but
Yeah.
not hit by the attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I guess I might have jinxed it when I said the incredibly long run.
Yeah. So yeah, we have to walk back now, basically to the teleporter, and then teleport back and yeah, go back there. So this might be a good time for a couple of donations if you have any.
Absolutely. I've got $10 coming in from the Fred Benson saying, an amazing event for an important cause. Thank you so much for hosting. Stay amazing. No, you stay amazing. We've got $5 from an anonymous donor. We've got $7 from an anonymous donor. And we've got one aimed towards me for some reason. We've got $15 from the DM Panda saying, thank you to all the amazing volunteers who make events like ESA possible. A question for Nordic Soy. I get the Nordic part of your name, but why soy? Love you all. That's a long story that I'll shorten by saying I am an old fart, and I am a fan of sci-fi, and just like Soylent Green, I too am made of people. So, there you go. Back to you.
Thank you, thank you.
So he's again stuck in the wall here. He should not be stuck here, so either he will figure it out again, which is this time a bit harder because his usual strat is to jump like up left, as you could see. But maybe he will have some hidden tech that we don't know about. Oh, that is...
How does he know?
Yeah, that is hidden strats for sure.
Oh, what's okay?
Yeah, he hears that he landed in the water, so now he's in the right place. But I don't know how he backed that up.
Yeah, incredible backups for sure, if he finds it now.
Yeah, again, like, this is the incredible game sense. He just had a feeling of in what way it went wrong and what he might do. Like, he's probably been in that situation several times before and has thought about what he's going to do. So it's just incredible planning.
Yeah, very, very nice.
This has literally never happened before.
Has
I guess it's never happened before.
Yeah. So yeah, as you said, like backups like these in blindfolded speedrunning mostly, they develop over time. It's nothing that you can really preemptively learn, because you just need to first like do attempts and do like practice runs and practice all the strats to see like what can actually go wrong. And with time, the more you run a game, and Pennek has spent lots and lots of hours in this game, the more you like work with the strats, the more you play the game, you get like a sense of, okay, this might be wrong, this can go wrong, I could potentially fix it like this. You kind of start to remember like how the camera might look like if the camera is like unstable, for example. So it's really like, with more experience, you really get like a sense for the game. And I think this is really, really one of the most awesome things that you can show off, actually. So honestly, shout out to Pennek to show off some backups and actually messing up in the marathon.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing I'm most excited to see is, like, it's really awesome that he can memorize, like, exactly all the inputs, but it's when he has to improvise and do stuff he's never done before. So we're getting poison here, which is still not great, but...
Yeah, so now he's a little bit on a time pressure because his health is going down,
See in
but
the
we are
top left.
going over to a grace here to be able to reset.
So he should make it in time. Should.
Don't jinx it.
I have done no jinxing yet this run, right?
So we see Pennek actually go off the horse here. That's because when you're off the horse, then you can turn your character and it will actually like just turn on the spot, where the horse will kind of do like a turn animation. So it's much more precise to turn off the horse than if you're on the horse.
Yeah, so
And
plenty
there
of
we
time
go.
here.
Easy,
Nice.
easy.
Yeah, so that's the longest run in the game done.
Now we come to a very, very cool strat, as you have mentioned earlier. So you're going to see Pennek actually doing very cool buffers right here. He teleports because he wants it to be nighttime. The boss only, or like the enemy that kill is only here at nighttime. And he's going to switch the weapons to have the precise timing because the enemy is like on a cycle kind of. He walks around. And just by buffering this, he knows exactly where the enemy will be in the right spot. And then he's going to go into a very, very, very precise position here on a bridge that you're going to see in 1 second. And yeah, then magic will happen. That's definitely all I can say about this. Like, it's still a setup, a very precise setup here. He needs to jump over this little ledge that you see here to the left. He's going to use the horse, and then like right when he jumps over it,
I love this. The horse tilt. I love
horse
it.
tilt, and then he's going to go like, that was too high. He wants to jump down basically from that higher spot and then jump back to the right to land on like the outer side of the bridge and then quit out the enemy here. So yeah, he heard that the enemy was like in a very not normal spot that he usually is, so he'll probably notice that his setup failed. But I think because he even went for the attack, he thinks that he is in the right position here. But yeah, now he's dead. He will reset to the grace anyway, so he can retry.
Yeah, that death is actually... Yeah, so that's like another thing that like, it's really obvious to us, like, oh, that didn't go right. He didn't get on the bridge, but how does he know?
Yeah.
Like, that's like, again, like it's such an invisible thing as Blindfolded. Like, how do you know when you're getting it correct is also a really difficult thing. But dying there is actually pretty good because that just puts him back what he needed to do, which is to go back to the grace.
And that's also one of the reasons, exactly what we said earlier, why he doesn't want to have runes early in the run. Like, we do all this prep because if we then get the runes, and we don't want to do something like this where we potentially just die and lose all of them. So that's why we had all this prep beforehand. So we're going to see here a second attempt, hopefully with the setup working now. It's a very, very precise jump, so let's hope he gets this here first try. So the horse, and...
Yeah, and don't clap if he gets the setup, because that might give it away, you know.
Oh, that looks good. That looks good. And now what's going to happen is either you will see or it might mess up. There is a bit of RNG here with the attack patterns that you can get.
Exactly. So the Night Cavalry here, he can do 3 attacks. He can either just run like he did there and then just kind of don't do anything. You have time to quit out. So this is like a normal attack. He can also jump off, which we will hopefully see now. He didn't. But he can jump off, and that's what we want. But he can also go for an instant attack that just knocks us off our horse and also kills us immediately. So there's usually like a 2/3 chance that he would get this, but there's that. Nice, there we go.
Bye!
There we go.
And yeah, this enemy drops a lot of souls and the Ash of War that we need. Ashes of War, for those who don't know Elden Ring too much, are basically skills that you can apply to your weapons and then use with your mana points or FP in this game. So very, very useful for the run. We're going to definitely need that.
Exactly. Yeah. Now that we got the runes, now everything that we need to use the runes for, we are doing. So he put exactly 13 points into Arcane. That is so we can use the Reduvia. But we also put some runes into Strength. And that's just to scale our damage with the Serpent Hunter later in the run. But then we know that we still have enough runes to still buy all of these smithing stones that we need to.
So here you can see him buy all the Somber Stones. These are the 4 that EG is selling, and then he's upgrading the Reduvia to +4, which will be the main damage source for the first boss that we're gonna see pretty soon, like in a bit.
Yeah, so one of the things to just point out as a little detail is you can't actually tell if he's leveled up the weapon correctly because the menus sound exactly the same if he got a pop-up saying, hey, yep, you've done the upgraded weapon, or if it goes, oh, you can't do it, you don't have the items. It has the exact same sound of a pop-up and goes back and forth the exact same. So Pennek is just relying on, yes, I did everything right, so I have a +4 Reduvia. He might have just pressed it and it failed 4 times, and for all he could know. But he believes in himself as you need to in a blindfolded run. That confidence is obviously very important.
Exactly. And now we're actually going to go down to this merchant here on the beach. He will sell a very specific bow that we want. Even though we started with the bow with this character, it isn't that useful for us because we really want this specific bow that has the skill with the barrage on it, because that will make us shoot arrows really quickly. We can shoot like 3 or 4 arrows really quickly. And we need that for the Godskin Noble fight. So as we said, everything that we're doing right now is to set up for the Godskin Noble fight. We went to get Bloodhound Step because we need to get into the Magic Academy. We're also getting this bow to kill the Godskin Noble, and now we're also going to go grab both a hand axe and also the sleep arrows that we're going to use to sleep Godskin Noble.
Yep, and the hand axe is for equipping the Bloodhound Step ability, because we can't change the ability on a somber weapon like Reduvia, so we need just a regular smithing stone weapon, and so the hand axe is a convenient basic weapon to do that. In fact, it's a good strategy again. Like if you're going to do like a new game plus playthrough, it's really common to like just take a dagger and get like put one of the buff like weapon arts and that kind of thing. That's basically what we're doing here. We're never actually going to attack anything with the axe. We just switch to it to use its art.
Well, we might attack a little bit with the axe, but
not to enemies.
Maybe not to enemies, but we'll get into that.
Also, another little fun fact that we haven't mentioned yet. Why are we not using the katana that we have actually? And why do we start with the samurai class? Because this katana, the Uchi katana, is very important later on, and we do not want to upgrade. I don't even know if you can put the Ash of War onto it. Maybe.
I think you can, because it's not
it's a normal weapon.
Yeah, it's a normal weapon.
But we want to keep this katana like as it is right in this state, because it has a very special ability called Sheath. Or Sheath? I don't know. Sheath, yeah.
An unsheath?
And we're gonna need that.
Yep. We picked the samurai class literally just for that. We don't care about anything else. And we also the other starting thing we did was we started with the golden seed, so we have an extra flask, which will be really important in an upcoming area to have enough flasks.
And yeah, here we are in the round hole table, I believe it's called. Here you can find another smith, this lovely fella here. He can upgrade like swords and weapons, and he can apply the Ashes of War, the skills that we have equipped. So at any point in the run, we need to go there anyways, and this is a very convenient time to do so, to equip the Ash of War and to get the grace there to always teleport there.
Exactly, yeah. In an earlier route, we actually used to get a wet blade from one of the caves, but that took too long. So it's just faster to actually go to Round Table Hold and just have Hugh, the smith, do it for us instead.
Yeah, so here we are. We are managing our flask because now we have Bloodhound Step, which is an absolutely fantastic ability in its unnerved state. The only downside is that it costs FP, the mana gauge, the blue gauge in the top left. So we're going to need to do that. Oh, something is
Pennek did a
here.
very, very weird looking menu there. I hope it's okay.
Think he knows?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, another feature of the game, the chest. I don't think many people have seen that in their
I never used it, at least.
Yeah. So you actually have a chest in the game at any grace where you can put items in. And why Pennek is managing his items here, and he is looking a bit concerned, because he should be. It's very important that you put in the right items here for his run. So why we need this is we need a specific order of the weapons, because you can in the chest sort them by order, like when you acquired them, and Pennek needs the weapons for a later glitch that we're going to use in a very specific order. And he was a bit confused here in the menu, I think, but now he's gonna equip the weapons and try to figure out how his menu looked like. I believe that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, so I think when he was upgrading the flask or switching the flasks, he felt that something was wrong, and as soon as he was wrong, he kind of abandoned what he was doing, I think, a little bit, and he went, okay, I'm going to go through and do my check to say that I've got everything, I know where everything is. So what he's doing is he's going through, equipping each weapon, and doing an action which tells him what it is, which is like the weapon art or whatever it is. And so he's like, yep, I know what this is, I know what this is, I know what this is. And so if there is a problem, he can figure out what it is.
At least hopefully he can figure it out.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, it's very important to make no mistakes in menuing, as we said earlier, also with the smithing stones when you buy them. Because if you mess up the menu, it's very, very difficult to fix it, if not impossible. So, and it can potentially make this run really, really go downhill if the menu is in a wrong layout. But I do believe he fixed it now.
Didn't use the golden seed yet.
Didn't use the golden seed.
Yeah, he
But
did test his
I don't
flasks.
think it's needed.
I also don't think so. I don't know if his newer strats require a bit more FP.
It is
maybe?
required later,
Yeah.
but maybe not for this section.
Yeah.
But he did drink, and then he knew he only had 5.
Yeah. He tested
So he
it.
might just have put a note in the back of his head that's like, I need to use them later.
Yeah, let's hope he remembers. But yeah, he's thinking about it. He's going back one more time to the Grace to check. It's very, very intense for Pennek, I believe, right now, because he told me also before the run, like, if anything is scary, then like menus, and he like really tried to practice the menus because they are scary.
Yeah, 100% here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just forgot that he left the elevator in the
Oh, he
raid
wanted to
state.
actually grab the lever to pull it down.
Oh, okay, but then he missed it.
Yeah, because he moved.
Oh,
to
yeah,
the,
that's correct.
He moved
yeah,
to the
yeah,
left there.
He just missed it.
Yeah, troubleshooting must be like one of the hardest thing. I don't know if you could talk about that with all the blindfolding you have done.
Yeah, it's difficult. Also, like, especially from the outside to like see what the runner is thinking right now. Like for us, like we can only assume things. Like we don't know exactly what is going on in Pennek's mind. So maybe he has like a whole different image of like how the menu right now looks. Maybe he doesn't know about the seats at all. Maybe he does. Again, didn't hit the lever there. I'm very confident he will figure it out though.
Yeah, this is not a very recoverable mistake. Like what we're really afraid of is him accidentally dropping something that he needs.
Yeah.
If he dropped the Reduvia in the menu by mistake, the run is over. Like we can't finish. So that's the kind of thing we're really worried about. But this should be recoverable. He just needs to, whatever is mismatched in his head, just needs to figure that out and then he'll get there. As well as also find this lever, which is obviously very difficult.
Yeah, there it is. With the slow walk. Yeah, there's a slow walk button in Elden Ring, and we haven't talked about that yet, but maybe it's a good time. Pennek is actually playing only on a keyboard, with both hands on the keyboard. The mouse is not touched at all. I assume it's understandable, because touching the mouse moves the camera, and that's nothing you want to see in a blindfolded run. And yeah, he uses both hands on the controller with a very specific key setup. That's also going to be important later. We're probably going to go to that point also when we go to the glitch that we're going to perform with it.
Exactly, yeah. Because you never want to actually move the camera during the run. So you only use resets to go back.
Why did I do that?
I think he Bloodhound's steps not quite right. Maybe he did it a bit early.
He did it too early, yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't get the full distance, and he was like, oh yeah, like I think he realized he didn't get the full distance, and so that's going to put him completely off route. So he just needs to go back to the Grace and do it again, as well as find
Exactly.
this
It's at
leader
least
again.
much safer.
Yeah.
You could maybe still go with the run, and then you would find some normalization
lower it,
spot
it's fine.
with some walls that you could get stuck in. But if he didn't get the full distance, maybe he doesn't get to that spot, and then everything is going to get ruined. So a safe option is just to reset back to the Grace, and that's going to normalize us, and just he knows everything, like all the state of everything. So now he knows that he's set up correct.
This is a really scary area. Before I mentioned that enemies with ranged homing attacks are the worst. And there's a lot of them in the academy if you're familiar with this area. So that's why we really need a Bloodhound step. But even with it, we need to be doing our movement very clean, very precisely, because he can't just like stop and think at any moment, because that's a moment he might get hit, and then he would need to reset from the Grace again.
Yeah, and here you can see also how the Bloodhound step that we constantly talk about looks like. It's this big and long dash attack, and it's not only good because it always moves you in a fixed distance, and you can, for example, count like, okay, 3 up, 2 up left, but it also gives you an incredible amount of iframes, so you are invincible during these. So you can just see him very often do this dash through attacks and nothing will hit him. There is still a chance that he gets hit at the very end or at the start of the animation, I believe, especially at the very end of the animation. But it's very rare, and it's just such a powerful weapon art to have, and especially for blindfolded movement. So it's really worth to take this big detour to get it.
Exactly, yeah. And that's also one of the reasons that we are running on this patch that we are on, because as we said earlier, the weapon got nerfed heavily. Both the distance that you're traveling, it's basically nothing now if you're playing on current patch, but also the invisibility frames that you get while you're dashing is also heavily nerfed.
Yeah, so another really scary area here now. We're going to have to go through a whole bunch of enemies, as well as setting up for an interesting trick that we're going to be doing.
So a lot of the enemies here will try to grab us, and yeah, also just attack us. We see that guy trying to grab us. That will become useful later, but
yeah. See, these enemies are very aggressive.
And there are many of them, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can also see Pennek here always doing these dashes and then refilling with the flasks his FP, his mana. And he has a very specific route for this. Like, he has it all calculated. Like, okay, I do exactly this many dashes, and then I'm gonna drink my flask. And now we're gonna come up to a very, very cool section.
Yeah, so this is a strat that's also used in the any percent route. It might not be used in the most recent route, but when I ran it, you did. This is a fall cancel. So when you're grabbed by an enemy, you're kind of like invulnerable to other forms of damage apart from the grab. And so we want to get grabbed. Oh, it'd be missed. Oh, that's unlucky.
so yeah, it's basically RNG if you get grabbed. I think it's like they can either just do a slow attack at you or they can go for the grab attack. So it's usually around 50% chance that you'll get down.
Yep.
Luckily, yeah, Pennek quit out before he actually died. If you fall down far enough and then hit the ground, you'll just die.
Yeah, so we're going to basically fall while in a grab, and so we will not take the fall damage, so we'll survive. But the enemy actually will die from the fall damage, which is convenient.
Yeah, it's also important which one of the enemies grabs him, because the angle of the grab of the enemy pushes him off either earlier or later. And this time he got pushed off the edge correctly, but very late, unfortunately. So, yeah, the damage cancel basically stopped working at the end and he died. But he can basically now, because of the Grace, rerun this whole path and then try again.
Yeah, this is one of the really RNG heavy parts of the run. The first one being that Reduvia fight, but this is the one where, you know, if you got it first try, that'd be amazing, but he can't like control whether that happens consistently. So if you get it within the first few tries, then that's really good. So we'll see if we get it second try here.
Okay, another interesting thing is that on this bridge, Pennek is actually holding A while he's Bloodhound stepping. Because you could also go in a direction, let's say he wants to go left, and then release A after that. But then the camera actually still moves a little bit while you're Bloodhound stepping. So while holding A, then the angle gets changed a little bit. And just that little angle change is enough so that we don't run off the bridge there.
Yeah, and I think that's partly because you can actually redirect Bloodhound Step while it's going, which is, it's just a tiny amount. Like, you would like never really normally notice that you can do that. But that tiny difference makes a difference. Oh, that looks
good.
That looks excellent to me.
Nice.
Perfect. So you could see him here. He fell down this very large cliff, and he's alive. The enemy is dead. And what we're gonna now do is, in front of us is this elevator. How are we gonna catch the cycle blindfolded? Very good question. With a quit out is the solution for many problems in this game.
Yes.
Yeah, it resets all the global cycles, so Pennek knows from this quit out exactly which timing he needs to use to catch the elevator here.
So yeah, and it's calculated so that you don't even take any damage landing here. And now we're going to get down to the abductor. And this abductor is kind of special. It actually, if you get grabbed by it and then die to it, it will teleport us to Volcano Manor, but in a trapped state. So
there it is.
Nice.
There's the grab. Very good.
Excellent. So yeah, this is kind of, it's not really an Easter egg, like Patches, the NPC actually mentions it, kind of alludes to it. But yeah, it's a special mechanic where we can go all the way to Volcano Manor, which is a much more late game part of the game, and it's actually where Rykard is, which Zyper mentioned earlier, that's where we're trying to go. So that's actually the whole reason we went to the academy, was to get killed by that enemy to go here. And now we're going to do some very scary movement. Watch the HP here. Not even close.
No, easy.
Easy. Like getting into Volcano Manor, this area is like a little bit mid-game. You could also kind of say maybe a little bit later. Not kind of, not really. But it has like Somber, both 5, 6, and also a 7. But we're not going to pick up the 7. We're only going to pick up the 5 and the 6. And then later we are going to then find a Bell Bearing that will then give us the 8s and 9s. And then we're going to pick up the 7 somewhere else. No, we pick up the 9.
Yeah, we pick up the 9 later.
The Bell Bearing gives us the 7 and 8.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just like going to EG, this is like classic textbook, like Elden Ring speedrunning. Like you get your 1, 2, 3, 4 from EG, you go to the academy, get abducted, come here for the 5, 6, 7. But we won't be getting the 7 because it requires a really difficult jump. But yeah, so that's the 6, and then we're going to move on and get the 5 next, I think, on the way to Godskin Noble.
I want to point something out here. See Pennek, he's attacking right here. That attack makes it so that he gets control just a little bit earlier, and that's actually what allows him to survive or jumping over this whole lava section. Because if he didn't attack, then another lava tick damage would come in and then actually kill us.
What's also important to mention here is Pennek teleported back to his default position here after he got the Somber 6. He actually cannot go back into the main map of the game right now because he's in like a trapped state in this manner. So whatever happens, he can only basically teleport back to the beginning of this Volcano Manor here until he hits a Grace, which is still upcoming in quite a bit. So
yes, there's a very scary enemy to the back left here. That's why he did the quit out, because it's on a patrol path, to put it in a particular spot. But then he needs to do that movement quite quickly, otherwise the enemy will catch up and actually hit him. It's very scary.
But yeah, we'll see Pennek actually reset the elevator here, because he has the route memorized, so this is a 2-part elevator that goes up and down. So instead of having to, if he fucks up, then he can get back to this area quite easily. And now we're going to pick up the Somber 5, and before we get into Godskin Noble, I think we have time for a donation.
Excellent. We've got $5 coming in from the FTC that says, if you didn't beat Elden Ring blindfolded, you didn't beat the game. We've also got a $7 anonymous donation from YDP Renewed 79. Thank you so very much.
yeah, now we're coming up to the first boss fight of the game. Very scary fight. Pennek needs to set up a very specific position and then gonna use his bow in combination with the sleeping arrows that we bought earlier. And then we're gonna see the major glitch that makes this run possible, basically. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Say
So this is the pivot swap glitch, and it's incredibly powerful and also very strange. So he's gonna, after he sleeps the boss, then he is going to basically face away from the enemy, and then he's going to sheath with the Uchikatana, and then during the pivot animation of looking at the enemy, very rapidly switch to the Reduvia weapon while holding the weapon art, and it'll get the game in a strange state where it's going to use the default weapon art, which just happens to be the weapon art of the pizza cutter, which hits rapidly over and over, and so we'll do tons of damage incredibly quickly using the Reduvia, but it's a very, very difficult trick to do.
He has about 1 minute until Godskin Noble wakes up here. Hopefully he gets it until then. It's a very precise trick to set up. Pennek is currently, he needs to face away from the enemy. I believe he's doing it a tiny bit too fast. It's a very, very particular timing here. And he needs to face away from the enemy. So it's hard to track blindfolded if you lock onto the enemy or not. And he's waking up. That is not good.
Yeah, he's...
And ouch.
Yeah, so a couple of those failed attempts was because he lost track of whether he was locked on or not, which is very difficult because there's no audio cue to know whether you're locked on or not. And so he thought he was not locked on, but he was actually locked on. But I'm not sure why a lot of them failed. He's made it as consistently as possible by actually all of the inputs he needs to do on the menu. He's bound to keys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then he glides his finger across them to do all the inputs really quickly. And he's really, really good at it. Very consistent, more consistent than I am doing it with vision.
100%.
But there, like, I don't know. I'm not 100% if the menu is set up wrong or not.
I believe the menu
it looked
correct.
right to me.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, from what I know is that there was like a tiny pop-up. I think that comes if you do it a tiny bit too fast, maybe. What I'm worried about right now is that because of the menu mistake earlier, Pennek might think that his menu is wrong still, because like he is consistent with this trick, and to fail it so many times in a row now might throw him off that like maybe he messed up the menu earlier, like after all. So I really hope that he doesn't lose like his confidence now in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that might be running through his head is in the world record run, in one of the boss fights he lost a minute because of exactly that. He actually messed up on this. Not
He's
ideal.
not supposed to be.
See if he can back that up.
He's gonna hear the lava here, and
He'll know he's completely wrong. Yeah, but he can just kill himself with basically the dark sign and retry that. Yeah, in his world record run, he actually lost a minute to like failing the pivot swap like 7 times in a row. But actually, he had just had the wrong weapon equipped. But he just didn't realize. He thought that he was doing the inputs wrong. So yeah, he might make the opposite mistake here, where he thinks his menu is wrong, but actually it's correct. So yeah, this is going to be very tricky for him.
Especially also in the marathon setting, there's like the addition of actual like nerfs because you only have this one chance here. So as I said, it's a very, very precise timing. Even the slightest bit too fast or too slow, maybe because you are excited, you're a bit nervous, you do it a bit faster than usual, that alone can be enough to change like or if it works or not. So
absolutely. And on top of all of that, we only bought 10 sleep arrows. That's the maximum we could have bought, and we used 4 of them. So this is the last attempt that he can get. He has a backup save if we are in that situation, so we will be able to continue and showing the run, but obviously it won't be a fully legitimate run.
Yeah, especially in marathon runs, it's very, very good to have such backup saves in a run like Elden Ring, because there is so many things in the menu with the buys, with the somber stones that you can mess up eventually. And Pennek has, for every single possible mistake, a backup save. So as the viewers, you shouldn't worry. We definitely can continue this run. But yeah, let's hope that it works out. Let's not even go to this point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good thing that we actually took the elevator down there before, because we actually needed it. And also here we do a quit out to then reset the enemy that was behind us. Yeah, going in now, it can be more scary, because now we actually need to be... We load in, and then the aggro of the boss will come on to us immediately. So we just have to go in and just immediately go. But nice, we got the sleep.
Counts 4 rolls, I believe, here to make sure he's right in front of the boss.
6,
or
yeah.
5 or 6. Okay.
Let's pray.
You'll know
Looks
what
like
if he
it
gets
Uchi.
it. That was very close. It started to work. He's got the lock on, not correct? He needs to be facing away when he does the start of the trick.
Like, he heard it starting the first time, so he should know that the menu equip is correct. But the time is running out slowly, which is, of course, pressuring him only more, I assume. There's the last try eventually. Oh. Put out. But he doesn't have arrows, I guess, anyway.
Yeah, so he only has 2 arrows left.
Yeah, so I don't think I am on the wrong keyboard layout. I think that's what's wrong. I don't know if... Okay, I am on the right keyboard layout. Okay, let me just check if my keybinds work. But yeah, we will have to load a backup. Sadly, that's what we have to do. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Blindfolded is really hard, so yeah, that's just.
Can we get a round of applause for Pennek? He's doing amazing so far.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna load a save file that is right before Godskin Noble, the fight we just did, and I will just check that the save file is correct, and then I'll. Okay, yeah, it is definitely not correct. But I will just check that, and then I will go back in my cave.
So I'm actually, yeah, Pennek can hear us. We can talk.
Yeah.
I'm actually wondering why the first one cancelled. I don't think I've seen that before.
I've never seen that either.
Like,
It even did like the animation of
Yeah.
like, some strong weapon
Yeah,
failing to hit or something.
So if I remember when I was doing this trick, it's you do the whole thing right, but you don't get back to the weapon art input in time.
Okay, yeah.
He
So-
spawned in the fight and then tried to do the pivot swap, but he had to actually sleep the boss first.
God damn it.
Yeah, so he did like, I think the mistake was he made all of the inputs, but then he didn't get back to the weapon art in time. So he started doing it, but then it just stopped because he wasn't pressing back the weapon art key quickly enough.
So yeah, Pennek is just trying now if everything with the keyboard layout, etc., is correct. If you can like get it once, potentially. Gonna sleep him, then gonna perform the glitch and the strat. So we're gonna see here. Gonna turn around, take the Uchigatana, set up everything. That was the wrong weapon.
That's not the right weapon.
Oh boy, that is bad.
No worries. We have time.
Yeah, at the very least, he knows exactly what went wrong there because he heard the Reduvia weapon art. So he knows that he tried to sheath the weapon and it's Reduvia. And he just double checked and he's like, yeah, that's the Reduvia.
Can you tap me on the shoulder if I have enough mana for sleep arrows? Okay, I do.
No.
Oh.
No, as a
okay. Yeah, if I don't have any mana, he's not gonna sleep. And
Tap
yeah,
for
sorry.
do have enough mana buff here.
Okay, yes.
I thought you said tap if I don't have enough mana.
Okay.
Yeah, just loading
Yeah,
in
one
the-
more try. Hopefully we get it. Yeah. Okay, again, everything should be set up correctly. We go again.
Go Pennek, exactly. There can be a lot of nerfs,
Yeah.
especially like being on stage.
Yes.
Very different environment. It can also even be a different like PC. That can
Yeah.
also like even throw you off because like
Even if it's an FPS difference, like if
Exactly,
the hardware
yeah.
of the PC is different, then there are many things in Elden Ring that are very FPS dependent.
exactly your camera is FPS dependent for sure, so it can turn you in some weird directions sometimes.
So we're gonna see he's equipping the Uchigatana, and can he get it?
There we go.
There we go.
Let's go. And yeah, that was the holy grail of speedrunning, the pizza cut technique.
We'll explain how that actually works probably the next time that we do it.
Yeah.
Here, Pennek is actually listening for the carpet because the carpet makes a different sound than what the stone flooring is making right here.
He started his camera faced very far to the left here, so he ran out of the carpet right away. I hope he heard it. He's gonna walk back now until he hits the carpet because the grace that we want to touch is located on this carpet. Here he hears it, so he knows like he needs to find out blindfolded how the camera looks, and he's like trying to follow the carpet here.
But he also doesn't know what angle he has right
Yep.
now because when the boss spawns, it can basically jump to the right, jump to the left, or run directly at us. So the boss has like RNG in where it's going to be positioned, and depending on what it does, Pennek always does the 6 rolls that we talked about earlier. And if you're rolling directly into another enemy, sometimes the roll can kind of go not through the enemy, but the enemy will then push you to the other side. So he could be on the left side, but he found it. Nice.
There
we go.
nice.
So that's why the camera can go in like all weird directions.
Yeah, it's really strange that like, finding that grace seems like the easiest thing in the world. That is, some of the hardest stuff in the run because he has truly like so little idea of where he is after that fight. Like figuring it out without having a precise, consistent setup, it's really, really difficult.
Definitely.
Yeah, Pennek unequipping the bow because we don't need it anymore. And now we're gonna get up. The next quest is to basically get the Serpent Hunter from the Raya fight. So to do that, we need to run across this other cliff edge that's also really scary, and there's also even enemies here that can push you off. And this turn right here can also sometimes troll you, because you need to recenter the camera, but recentering the camera and... Ooh.
Yes, this is the Bridge of Doom.
Yeah.
Pennek's called it before. It's a very, very narrow bridge with a bunch of slugs on it that can push you. And so he has a really good setup for this, but he needs to nail it exactly right to move exactly the way he should be, because otherwise he'll just either get stuck on slugs or he'll walk off or whatever. So it needs to be absolutely exact.
And as you saw earlier here, he also pushed this elevator down again, so if in case he needs to reset right here, which happened, he can instantly go back to the elevator without hitting the lava every time. And that is a torch/lamp, biggest enemy of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not outside. What?
Just gonna retry, yeah. Yeah, tiny objects like these lamps can really mess you up in Blindfolded. It's a common theme in Blindfolded gaming in general, in like all the games. Like the tiniest decorations that are like so useless and so unimportant in visual speedruns, for example, they are like the challenge. Like it's super funny.
So I think what happened there was that Pennek actually only rolled to the left. He didn't roll down left. And such a small little mistake, just like one roll direction, can have such a huge impact that you get stuck in a corner that you're not, where you don't want to be, and you just get stuck.
In fact, pretty much any mistake like that, like one or too many, one more, one too few, or any directional differences between any inputs, and it'll probably just completely mess up and I'll have to redo it. So everything has to be exactly right.
Okay, but look at this cliff side movement. It's very deliberate, the amount of dashes that he does and the amount of back hops he does to just not fall off. It's routed to perfection.
Yeah, there's a real scaling in this game. Is the more late game you get, the less railings on the side there are, and the more cliffs to fall off. And that's a big problem in Blindfolded.
Yep.
So here we didn't talk about it earlier, but Pennek is actually going to first turn in 90 degrees, because you never want to turn in 180 degrees, because the camera can actually, depending on which side you're turning from, when you recenter the camera basically, it doesn't go directly behind you. It always a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, and that's enough to throw you off. So here, Pennek is going to turn on camera rotation, do an attack, and that will set up the camera to be in a precise lineup in order to get over to the ladder. There's a little shortcut around the back that we can use.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The very setting I mentioned right near the beginning that lets us do the run by being able to turn it off, we actually turn it on very occasionally to get an automatic camera rotation, because we're going to do a very normalized movement, usually an attack with a weapon. It moves our character a particular distance, the camera moves a particular angle, gives us that precise angle, turn the setting back off and continue.
Also look at his health, very precisely routed here.
Yeah.
It's like 1 HP after this lava here, exactly like earlier, just using exactly the dashes that he knows that will let him survive and then heal up.
Yeah, and he needs all of his flasks here as well, all 6 of them, and that's why we needed to start with the golden seed at the beginning. So we go from 5 to 6 to be able to do this area like this.
So yeah, because we need the mana for this next section coming up here. But I think he didn't use the golden seed, but because we loaded the backup, then now we have it.
Yep.
Here,
So
Pennek is actually jumping, so he goes on the ladder, and then he tried to jump right there. And if he doesn't hear that he jumps, then he knows he's on the ladder. So that's also a way to tell where you are, because the ladder is just like out in the open. Even though it's up against the wall, for a blindfolded runner, it's just like out in the open somewhere on the edge.
That's Kyle.
Caelid number 6,
great.
I think. I think it's number 6.
Yeah, he's annoying. Another really good reason why we want Bloodhound Step, because it just immediately just goes, oh, I'm just going to put hitboxes everywhere, and if he gets hit, then good.
yeah, there's a room coming up now with a lot of enemies. I really like the movement in this room. It looks super smooth, and he's hopefully gonna dodge like everything at once with like lots of dashes. Using this door here to normalize first his position, recenter the camera at the door, and now he's gonna zoom through this room hopefully.
But I love this movement here. He's going to basically chain together different directions of the Bloodhound Step. So yeah, just watch this movement coming up here. I love those changes where you're just like going up and then up left and then up and then rolling and then you just like keep chaining them together. It just looks so wonderful.
And it
Very
works
clean.
out perfectly, get him right where he needs to be. And so, yeah, we've been going for an hour and 8 minutes, I think. And as I said, we've as I've mentioned, the whole reason why we're doing absolutely everything we've been doing is to get the Serpent Hunter. And finally, we're about to pick it up at the start of this Rykard fight here. Setting up so we're on the right-hand side of the fog gate, so that we end up facing a little bit to the left because you kind of walk towards the middle, and that just puts us right into the Serpent Hunter, and then we grab it, and then we say goodbye for now onto Rykard. So
That is a big,
finally got it.
relief point here. So yeah, now we have the Serpent Hunter, which is a very, very strong weapon, which we also gonna upgrade to +9, even to the highest stage. It's the weapon we're gonna use from now on. The Reduvia we actually only picked up and leveled up for Godskin Noble. We don't need it anymore. I believe Pennek will actually throw it out right now, discard it. And the Serpent Hunter has, like, the Reduvia is good because you can use the glitch, the pizza cutter glitch that we used, because of its bleed proc. It constantly procs the bleed and it does lots of damage with it. The Serpent Hunter, on the other hand, is just incredibly strong, and it has, for anyone who has played this game casually, in the fight of Rykard, you use the Serpent Hunter to do basically a long-range attack with his special, and if you combine this long-range attack with the glitch, you basically switch from a pizza cutter to a machine gun, and it is extremely overpowered. We're gonna see that very soon in many bosses.
There was a little mistake there where he tried to store all of his items, but couldn't do that because he still had it equipped. But I think he figured it out. We never actually mentioned why we use the chest and store things, I think, and that's because there's actually a menu sorting, which is sort by when you acquired it. This is useful casually. You pick up a weapon, you want it to be at the top of your inventory, you sort by that. But we want to make sure we have our inventory in a very particular order, and a way we can do that is by putting them in the chest in a particular order and taking them back out, because the game considers you to have reacquired it when you take it out of the chest. And we need to do that to do the pivot swap, because we need to open our menu, and we need the Serpent Hunter to be right there where it needs to be at the top of the menu. So that is why we do that.
Here you could also see him try the weapon arts. He did one special attack with the Uchigatana and then one dash, and he knows that he did the menu correctly now, which is very good.
Exactly, and those menus can be basically detrimental to the run, because if you discarded the wrong weapon there, it's just GG. Have to go to save file. So I'm always on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
on
especially
those
when he
menus.
throws out the Reduvia. If you throws out
Oh my god, is that?
So we didn't talk about that before, but yeah, wildlife in this game can just throw you off course sometimes. So there, Pennek actually might be around a second behind where he thinks he is.
Yeah, we'll see if he normalizes here at this rock. I think that is coming up.
Yeah, we'll see if he can.
And this is also a really, really long running section. I think there was the section earlier that you talked about, and there's also this section. Those two are the longest continual running sections that we're going to do.
Yeah, so this normalized rock should save us. So it's really good to route these into those long-running sections, because if something gets sent off...
I actually believe that...
Wait,
I don't think...
Yeah.
I
wait,
think
this
it's
is actually not the intended
What?
place.
He's very confused. Understandably.
Very
because-
understandably.
Yeah, there were just goats in the way. It's has never happened before, honestly.
Yeah, I've
so
never seen
Well,
that.
he got goaded,
yeah,
but he is also the
he
goat.
is goated,
so.
so
There is I know that Penneck's talked about how there's a possibility for a squid to spawn in the way and attack him, but it's very rare, so...
There's on these rocks over here, around this area, I think. Yeah, a squid can also spawn in, and then if it does a jump attack towards you, it can also hit you and throw you off your horse. So, yeah, this whole area is just littered with enemies, and it's a continual running section for around 2 minutes, I think.
that attack hit him. It did not really move him, and Pennek knows that because ranged attacks have sometimes they can move you a bit, and the camera will change the tiniest bit. Sometimes you will just run through it because of your poise. So I believe Pennek will just continue running here with as if nothing happened. Ooh, that was the second one. That would have killed him because he's now low on the health.
It's very scary.
Yeah. Ooh, there are many arrows flying. And yeah, this is
Pennek
also
running around. Here, Pennek is falling, and then he knows when he hears him fall and he lands, then he knows that like, oh, I should be in this position.
yeah, and this is also one of the longest or like longer running sections of the game. Probably one. Ooh, there was a squid attack. Ooh, another one. He's
This is
keep
the
going.
marathon lot.
Yeah, this is.
He's getting hit everywhere.
Yeah, this does not normally happen.
We're coming out on the 4 belfries here, but I think before we get to that, if you have any donations you want to read out, then now would be a good time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I just want to bring everybody's attention to the total up on screen. We hit $45,000, everybody. And you know what that means. It means that we finally met Milestone Madness 4, so we get to see Paulister lose once again to HUD 601 tomorrow.
Let's go.
Now,
He can never win.
the next goal is $60,000 before tomorrow evening. And if we do hit that, we will put Milestone Madness 4 and 5 back to back. So we might get a 2-for-1 tomorrow if we can raise some money. One of the donations that helped us reach that goal was $10 from Trash of Plays. They say, this is one of the coolest things I have ever seen. Pennek is so awesome. Keep up the good work. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much. Also, I heard that pun. The best thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, if you're looking at the time and the estimate and looking at how much progress we've made in the game, you might be thinking, how is he going to finish this game in time? Because, you know, normally you'd have to go kill 2 of the major bosses in the game, unlock the big city, go there, and then you would need to go kill another major boss, go through all the mountains, go kill the fire giant, blah, 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 etc. But we're actually not going to do any of that because we're going to use the 4 belfries, which is pretty much a totally optional area in the game that basically gives you access to like preview areas of other special areas. And the game actually gives you a special preview of a very late game area called Farum Azula. And it puts you on like an island really far away. And you go, ooh, look at this crazy place. Maybe you'll go here one day. But we have wrong warps. And as I mentioned, if we're in this square, we can confuse the game by teleporting and auto-foring. And then we'll go back to the default location, which just happens to be where you go after the fire giant on the mainland, which is exactly where we want to be. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to that preview area, executing the wrong warp, and then we will skip basically maybe 80% of the entire game and be right into the late game with our Serpent Hunter, which is going to be the weapon that's going to carry us through the final boss fights.
Yeah, it skips an incredible amount of gameplay. Like, if you have played this casually, you might know that this is like basically already at the end of the game now. There are like a few bosses from here left, but yeah, we skip lots of story triggers. We skip lots of bosses that are not optional. Lots of movement, lots of areas, everything here. By right here, we are in Farum Azula in this preview area. Pennek is going to quit out here again, doing the wrong warp. Again, trying to open the game while in the desktop. Love this thread, honestly. It's so cool.
Yeah, Steam, or like just Elden Ring, it takes a really long time to close down. If anyone played the game, yeah. If anyone at home, Pennek really hopes that he's not opening
Steam,
another
please.
application. But yeah, it takes so long for Elden Ring to actually close in the background. As you can see there, Steam just said like, you know, you want to stop playing, and it just said that for like 20, 30 seconds.
There it is.
There we go, yeah.
I think Pennek forgot to press E one more. There we go.
There we go.
He thought he was in the loading screen already.
Well done, Pennek. Yeah, so we're right at the end of the game, but that is also majorly problematic because we still have base stats apart from a bit of arcane and a bit of strength. So we have base vitality, obviously, you know, useless armor. We're getting one shot by everything here, and the enemies are really aggressive. Like, the developers really wanted this area to be like, this is the final dungeon of the game. The enemies are very brutal, very aggressive, and it makes it really difficult for us to deal with this. And so Bloodhound Step absolutely going to be coming in clutch to get through these enemies, especially this upcoming room here. But also, as you might see, it's kind of like everything is all destroyed. There's gaps, narrow walkways everywhere. Not falling off is also really difficult, and so definitely some of the absolute hardest, most punishing movement is coming up in this area.
Yeah, the platforming in this area is just really precise and really insane to pull off. There is so many of these tiny ladders, and here are these enemies, super aggro. They will attack you as soon as they see you. They have no mercy. So,
Yeah. And look at that zigzag that
Yeah.
Pennek he just did right there. That's also a new strategy he's implemented because it gets you around all the small obstacles throughout the way. You could go in a corner, but then, yeah, as you say, all the enemies, they aggro onto you, and then you would either need to use like a lot of quit outs, and that would add a lot of time. So yeah, Pennek got it. That's like a
Nice.
really scary section with all those enemies and having to zigzag through everything.
Yeah, it's also like going into a corner and doing a slow strat is not viable. Also going in a straight line is also not viable because if and that's where the enemies are, and if we touch an enemy, that's gonna knock us off route, and so that's no good. So that zigzag movement is just really optimal for what he's trying to do.
here's upcoming one of the hardest enemies in the game. I died to this guy 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really scary unless
Yeah.
you just run away. Just run and don't look back, and you should be fine. Yeah, his landing is. You would think it would
Yeah.
have this huge hitbox that would deal loads of damage, but actually, there's
You just
one time
completely
it's,
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's totally
Completely
fine.
safe, and Pennek actually didn't wait to hear the lightning start, and once he heard the lightning, then he started Bloodhound stepping, and it's just a strat I don't think I've ever seen Pennek die here.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say anything, I didn't want to curse him, but
Yeah, it's
now it worked. Nice.
And there's the next Grace. He knows he's safe, so past that section. And now upcoming, there are more difficult platforming sections, and we're also gonna come up
A
soon
lot of
to the-
enemies.
Yeah, to many enemies and the infamous Godskin Duo. But first, we're gonna do some other side quests, you could call it. We need to upgrade our weapons still. That's what we're gonna need to pick up here, because right here is the bell that we can use to upgrade our shop, and that upgraded shop basically gives us the Somber 7 and 8. So we're just gonna pick it up here, or fall down the edge.
okay. That's
Also cool.
slightly too far, but that's fine. He just picked up the Grace, so should
Yeah.
be able to get it, no problem.
So that's one of the optimizations that you can do right there. You grab the Grace and then instantly try to go for the bell bearing instead of having to do a load or teleport to the Grace. So, but since we have like 0 runes and the route is planned in this way, it doesn't matter if we died right there. We're now coming out to one of probably the second hardest movement section in the whole run. So even though it is still pretty long, there was some longer sections before, but this is just like on a whole different difficulty level. Because everything, as you said, yeah, it's a crumbling land Azula, right? It's just everything is just in crumbles, it's floating small islands. So yeah, just see all these small edges that Penny is running on.
Also many enemies here that shoot arrows at you, that try to hit you with their spears. So they can hit you at the end of the animation of the Bloodhound step, as I said earlier. And here is a very narrow ridge of these crumbles that you cannot see because the screen is like right there. But if you played this casually, you might even remember these kind of bridges. They are very tiny, and to traverse them blindfolded is just really impressive to witness.
Yeah, when to deal with them, we'll also use a little bit of the edge protection, which I think we saw a bit before. So when any time we do regular attacks with the axe, then we won't be able to fall off any ledges, so we can get right to the edge there.
Exactly, and there's going to come a really good point up here real soon that will actually show off the edge protection in action. So I'll point it out when it comes up. So here we're just inching ourselves forward, getting the Somber.
Number 9, I think.
Yeah, Somber 9. So now we are set up to be able to upgrade our Serpent Hunter all the way to +9.
And here's coming up the section with the edge protection. There's this Grace in front of us, and there is a ledge right here, and he keeps attacking that ledge. And these attacks do enable this ledge protection. Actually, only if there is like a deadly drop in front of that ledge, but here it is. So Pennek can use that to set up. He knows exactly how many swings he needs to do to turn the camera just slightly to the right towards the Grace. And that was beautifully executed.
Exactly. Pennek actually uses the edge protection there to even move him a little bit to the right, because you want to be in that corner so you can then jump onto the platform.
Oh, that is
so unlucky.
incredibly unlucky.
That was the end of the animation. Exactly what I said just
My
a while
marathon
ago.
luck, goddammit.
Yeah.
That enemy can do something like 5 or 6 attacks. Like when you do the 80% speedrun, you have to learn to deal with and like roll all the attacks. But with the Bloodhound Step, there's only one attack that has any chance of hitting him, and he did that one attack and caught him right at the end of the animation, so that was super unlucky. Here we're going into the Godskin Duo boss fight arena, but an interesting thing is the trigger for the boss is actually kind of positioned to the back left of the room, because that's like where the door is where you want to go. But so if you actually don't go near that door, you actually don't trigger the boss fight. So we're actually going all the way around the outside to not trigger the fight, and then we can exit out a different entrance to the boss fight to pick up this grace, which is perfectly positioned for where we want to start the fight. And so we can go safely go do our side quests, as Bubsy mentioned.
Yeah. I really would have loved to know this when I did this casually. Like, I died to this so often, and I always had to run like past these enemies there. Like this, you can just basically go back instantly.
So you might think, like, now Pennek teleported to the Rykard fight, and that's because we need some runes, because we need a lot of runes to actually upgrade our Serpent Hunter to +9. So we're going to kill this boss now.
Yeah, and we're not going to do it the intended way. We're going to be doing the pivot swap glitches before. So it's going to basically be the same as when we did the Reduvia. We switch with the Uchi, and then we'll get the pizza cutter, like rapid attack, but it will inherit the range of the Serpent Hunter special abilities in this fight. And so we'll have a very, very long range machine gun, basically.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to use.
I like to call it a
the
machine
fight.
gun sniper.
Yeah, I think that's apt.
And important to mention is here, Pennek can actually quit out. He got it here second try, but it was too late. The enemy, if he attacks Pennek, then the glitch gets deactivated and Pennek will die because he has very low health at this point. He's very underleveled. But fortunately, he is right here at the door. He can quit out and just retry. There's nothing now that can like be detrimental to the run, like the sleeping arrows.
Yeah, this is something that's true of the Blindfolded and the with Vision run is, with boss fights like this, you need to get the pivot swap first try, because once you're in the pivot swap, you have very little control, and so he can't like roll to avoid attacks or anything. So he needs to get it instantly, otherwise it's over.
So Pennek does a very specific movement here. He's going forward. He's using W tech, that we call it.
The boss fight is not over yet.
It's a two-part boss fight, so
it's a
get ready.
two-phase boss fight, so he needs to do the glitch one more time because the glitch gets reset with every cutscene. So it's not over just yet.
So here he rolls towards Rykard instantly, and that's because Rykard has some attacks that he can run through. Oh. He didn't get the pivot swap there. But yeah, Rykard has some attacks that he can run through, but it also depends on your range to Rykard. So Rykard has an instant thrust attack that he can do towards you, but by going close towards him, that attack acts like it's disabled from his arsenal.
So yeah, we're gonna try this one more time. Pennek checking again the weapon equipment. As you can see, the first time it worked. The second time it was a bit struggling again with the pivot swap. It is just a very, very precise trick. Like, I cannot overstate this. It is really, really difficult to do. And what we have not mentioned yet is how Pennek actually performs this trick, because it's like a lot of inputs at the same time. Very nice first try. And what he has done is basically he has a special keyboard for this, with like he bought extra like rounded keycaps for this. So he has mapped out every key of this glitch in 1 to 9 on the keyboard. And what he does is he does like one clean movement with the hand over all the keys, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that inputs every single perfect input to perform the glitch. And that's why it's so difficult to get the right timing, like how fast you sweep over that keyboard row. And there it is,
Nice.
first try, nice.
Yeah, and he should get it here. He's also going to be spamming the move forward, the W key, while doing the fight. Oh, a little bit scary, but it's good.
Very, very nice.
We did with the boss. He's going to be rapidly tapping that key because it's a very glitchy thing that we're doing here, and so every time the damage tick is based on the animation, and so by continually stepping forward and jittering forward, it's like resetting the animation state he's in, which is re-triggering the hitbox, so he actually has higher DPS by doing that.
And why we did this whole fight is on the bottom right, you can see he has now a lot of runes. He has 180,000 runes, which is enough to buy the Somber Stones that he needs to upgrade the weapon, enough to upgrade the weapon actually, because that also costs runes, and to, at the end, scale his strength levels a bit more to get even more damage. That's just to get like really overpowered, to make this machine gun glitch even faster to kill bosses. And yeah, that's why we left this boss also for until now, because before, as we said, if he would have at any point died with these kind of runes after the kill, yeah, they would be gone. So he waited with this boss exactly before he has all the materials he needs, all the resources, and now he's going to upgrade everything.
Yeah, so back to EG, buying 1, 2, 3, 4. Earlier we picked up 5 and 6 in Volcano Manor, 8 and 9 in Farum Azula, and we can go straight up to +9 there. So now we have an incredibly powerful weapon. When we use the chainsaw glitch especially, or the machine gun glitch, has a bunch of different names.
Yeah.
The
Pizza
swap.
cutter.
Pizza cutter, call it whatever you want.
Yeah, now Pennek is going to use the last runes to just pump into strength. That's just more damage that we're going to get on the Serpent Hunter.
Yeah, the Serpent Hunter has a scaling with strength, I believe, which is like one of the best that you can get. And the more strength you... I know many people are often confused by these scales, but yeah, if you level up strength with the A scaling, then it's very good. And here we're upcoming to a very, very difficult fight again. The Godskin Duo.
A bit RNG as well, and whether or not we get hit by that fireball.
The dodge.
Good.
And first try gets the glitch.
Yes,
Very
perfect.
nice.
Excellent.
So if you played that fight normally, you would actually remember that the Godskins, they kept respawning all the time. But their hitbox actually lingers behind when they die for a short time, like maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So we can actually still hit them while they're dying. And the both health bar is actually going to hit like a third enemy that's underneath the map and just deactivate it. But that's the health bar that is showing you on screen. So that's why we can still kill this boss fight, even though usually there would be more enemies.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this run is it's the only time I've ever seen a Godskin Duo one-cycled, because you need absolutely ridiculous DPS to be able to actually completely kill the boss during those couple of seconds when you can do the extra damage. So normally you're killing at least 3 or 4 of the actual boss, but here we just only kill the 2 that spawn, and that's it.
Exactly, and we're getting so much safety damage throughout the run because we cannot fight them. Usually in a sided run, you would not use the time to go get upgrades, but instead just fight the extra enemies. But that would be too inconsistent this run. So we need the extra damage in order to make it safe enough to actually run.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you've got vision, you can, while doing the glitch, use the geometry and aim it and move left and right and try to deal with some attacks. You don't need as higher damage, but here we can't react to anything, so we just need to just obliterate the boss right away.
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult movement section again. These enemies are very scary. There's one enemy that threw these boomerang kind of weapons that you might have seen. That one can really mess you up, so Pennek got very cleanly through here. But it's not over. There is still another path that he has to do, like a crumbled path that he has to traverse. And that is very, very difficult because, yeah, it's ledges with death left and right. So
this enemy just doesn't spot us. Really nice. But this is also one of the areas that has gone through some iterations through the time, because this used to be a really run killer section, but Pennek has now reformed the route to be more consistent. So now he's using the time you can hear when you fall, and then he's going to do new inputs after that. So here he heard that he fell, and then he can do the next part of the movement.
it looks very good, actually. It's enter here. Yep.
Very
Very
Get through the
right
goal.
there.
Nice.
It's not over yet, though. There's still one more part here where he needs to go through before he gets to the next grace. And there's one enemy that will see you, but usually if you're fast enough, he's not a problem. Pennek's going to try to set up his dashes here and jump over this fence right in front of him. There's the next grace, and with the dashes, he's fast enough to basically always escape this enemy, and very nicely done. Very, very clean.
Excellent.
Nice. So yeah, before we come up to the hardest movement part about the whole game, I think we have time for one donation.
That's perfect, because I have one donation to read. I've got a $5 anonymous donation that says, amazing run and very good commentary and clear explanations from the 3 companions and the coach. I believe that meant couch, but hey, you know, great job.
You could be our coach, Nordic Soy.
So yeah, we are coming up to an even harder platforming section, unfortunately. It's just back-to-back hard here. With a big skip, actually, that is even difficult to perform visually. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to talk a bit about it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be, you could call it dragon skip because we're skipping over dragon, but we tend to call it bird skip because we're not really worried about the dragon. We're actually worried about the birds. Like, if you're familiar with dogs in the game, like, you haven't seen nothing, you've seen birds. Birds are the new dogs.
Yeah.
We do not want to go anywhere near those birds blindfolded. They are definitely hitting us, even with Bloodhound Step, and it's just going to be a complete nightmare. So here, we do a pivot swap glitch, just to kill this one enemy, which I love how overpowered this is.
It's so absurdly overpowered.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has no
overpowering that
chance.
enemy.
Like,
Yep.
But it does actually have multi-use, because when we do the pivot swap, we also log on to the enemy, so that changes our camera angle to be in a different place. And then you saw Pennek actually log off before he started moving. So this camera is very precisely set up, and then he's going to turn off the camera rotation, or turn on camera rotation, and then now turn it off. So he has a very precise camera that's only looking a little bit towards the wall. And now he's basically going to walk on this small path here, and the game doesn't want you to walk here, so it's also going to try to push you off in some sections. And at the end, you have to jump over the fence, and this is like the hardest jump in the whole run.
you have to like kind of curve around that fence, and it's super, super precise, even visually. So if we can get some quiet time here until he gets this, he might fail this, hopefully not, but let's wait here until he reaches the safety ladder right after this.
Nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, so that is a lot more difficult than it looks. The collision really doesn't want you on there. If you walk straight up it, you'll end up getting pushed off and go all the way off. So he really needs that camera angle and the walking, so he's never walking too much into it. And so it's very particular what he has to do. And that jump there is really tricky. Like, you know, I've failed that many times on my runs.
It also skips a big portion of Farum Azula. Like,
Absolutely.
there's a section where there's like a dragon, he shoots thunder at you, and you don't want thunder shooting at you while you're blindfolded for sure. So very, very good that this works blindfolded. It's amazing actually that this works. Like, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, there's tons of enemies as well that would be really brutal to deal with as well. And an elevator we'd have to get up. And an enemy can get on the elevator, and yeah, it would be bad.
I didn't say anything until now because I didn't want to jinx it, but right there you could fall off the edge and then you'd have to do everything again. So Pennek is now going to jump down to a grace, and once he gets the grace, then he knows that he's home safe and he doesn't need to do this dragon skip anymore.
Yeah, and now we actually...
Yes.
Nice.
Very
Let's go.
nice, he got the grace. So yeah, we are up to the end of the run slowly. Like, we only have a couple of bosses left. Most of the movement is done. There's a tiny movement section still upcoming, but now it's basically going to be kind of a boss rush. We're going to start with Maliketh. Very, very infamous boss as well for casual players. Very difficult. A two-phase fight. And especially in blindfolded case of Pennek here, this two-phase fight is a bit special because he needs to dodge an attack while setting up the pivot swap. And it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, this boss fight is going to be like a lot of the others where it's two phases. It kicks us out of the pivot swap during the cutscene, so we need to do it twice in a row, first try, both times. And so here he needs to get it right away, otherwise Maliketh will come over and hit him.
Very good.
And he needs the DPS in order to not die from this attack that he's about to do. And now Maliketh is going to come and do a scripted attack where he swipes across the floor. So Pennek's going to walk backwards to avoid that while switching his weapon back to the Uchi so he can do the glitch. And then he's going to face away, set up the glitch, execute it just like that, and then kill the
Very
boss.
good.
That's very execution heavy. You need to walk backwards, you have to get it everything first try. If you didn't get it first try, Maliketh would do a second attack right after and just kill us.
Yeah, it's so many inputs at the same time. Like, you need to multitask the menu, the moving, dodging the attack. It's so much to do. It's really impressive that he got this first try.
Yeah, on my 90% runs, I think that was probably the biggest reset point because you need to nail it perfectly both times. So it's super impressive that he can do it blindfolded because my consistency was just never really there with vision.
Yeah, here we are to the last real big movement section of the run. The story has progressed now to the capital of Ash. Like the capital is broken down basically. We're gonna go to the last four bosses of the run, and
I think it's 5.
Depends
Depending
how
on
you
yeah,
if
it
you count
depends on
Gideon.
how you count it.
If you
I
count
guess.
Gideon,
Yeah.
just like he just monologues at you for like
No,
10 minutes.
I was rather thinking of the end fights if you count phase 1 and 2 separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Gideon is coming up. He's a good fella.
He
Yeah,
likes
so-
talking a lot at least.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the last kind of downtime parts of the run. So let's throw it over to donations here.
Yes.
All right, we've got $25 coming in from a Warrior's Kingdom. They're referencing our next run, saying, "The man, the myth, the legend. Good luck on the run, Mies. Good to see you on ESA." That went towards our Metal Gear Solid any % ending choice between saving Otakon and saving Meryl. And right now, Otakon has taken the lead by $2. $2. So you can influence this big time. You've got, what, a couple minutes or however many minutes left here in this run, a couple minutes in intermission, and then we're going to have to call it. So if you want to change saving Otakon or saving Meryl, get those donations in right now.
So yeah, here we are at Gideon, and he, as we said, likes to talk. He has like a 10-minute dialogue at the beginning. It's really ridiculously long. So Pennek has all the time in the world to try his glitch. It's gonna go right in front of him, and fail it once, it's okay. And this guy gets obliterated.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Insta death.
And on top of that, Gideon is really kind that he puts the Grace right on top of where you are. Because, you know, just like the Godskin Noble fight, like, he doesn't know exactly where his camera position is potentially here because he locked on to the boss. But luckily, he doesn't need to go searching around for it because he knows it's right here. So.
Yeah, and again, Gideon drops lots of salt, so we're gonna use that to one more time upgrade our strength really high to get like this tiny bit of additional damage. Oh, Mr. Nice.
Mr. Nice, yeah.
And now upcoming is still the root of death, or however you want to call it.
That's a good name for it.
There's one. You see this little root there in the background on the left side. We're gonna go up there, and yeah, it's a not very kind terrain for Blindfolded. You can fall off, you can slide down. It's very, very weird to traverse this. I've actually heard that you found some strat for this. That
Exactly. Pennek was routing this live on stream, so I just gave a lot of suggestions about like, you know, oh, could we do this? Could we roll at that point? So I like to call this the cyber strat.
I also heard Pennek say that, like, yeah, he helped me, but I've reiterated it afterwards again. So he kind of wants to take it away from you, I think.
Yeah,
It's featuring Pennek. It's a cyber strat featuring Pennek at this point. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
He made it up. We didn't jinx it.
Yeah, the route is like really narrow and also kind of curves in like small angles, and we only deal with 45-degree angles here, and so like, you know, the 10-15-degree angle turns really does not gel with us.
Yeah, but coming up here to the last 4 boss fights, if you count the phases as different boss fights.
Oh,
I
camera is a tiny bit turned too far to the left.
talked too early.
See if he can recover this.
He should run straight into the Grace, which is like directly left of him here, if he crosses this doorway. But he's... Oh, well, that was the wrong direction to back it up, but maybe he will figure it out. I believe he can hear it on the footsteps because he's standing on ash, which should have a different footstep sound than like the inner part of that building, which is like cobblestone. So, oh, very nice,
Okay.
very nice.
Will he hit the Grace though here?
And
Nice.
Yes, he will.
Very nice.
Excellently backed up there.
So we talked a little bit about the pivot swap glitch, but just to give a little bit more context on it, how it actually works. We go in and we need to face away from the enemy. Then we need to hold the Uchi Katana down in the holster. And then while we then go into the menu, and while we are turning around, we then need to swap to another weapon. That will trick the game into not knowing which stance we have to be in. So it gives us the first item in the list, which is the pizza cutter. But since we switch to the Serpent Hunter, then we get the damage and range of the Serpent Hunter.
Yeah, basically the game does not want to let you switch weapon while in attack, And he nailed it. Nice job. Let's see if he actually
Now
gets
he
the
needs to
second
do
one.
the same thing as in Maliketh. He has to actually run backwards and also switch weapons and do the pivot swap. So if he switches weapons, he's going to go for an attack, but then do the pivot swap.
Nice.
He gets... Nice.
You see just barely enough damage before Hurlu managed to hit him with an attack.
Very execution-heavy part, too.
And here, dependent on how fast Pennek kills the boss with his damage, actually he can be perfectly aligned with the Grace here. He's a tiny bit too far to the right, but he usually tries to back it up here with a left hop. That is not the case, unfortunately. So if he cannot find the Grace, he needs to warp one more time back. But that looks good if he just walks a tiny bit further.
Nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
very nice.
Okay, we are going into the final boss fight of the run. Again, it's another double fight. We're going to kill a boss, get a cutscene, kill a boss. Luckily, there's actually a 5-second, maybe a bit longer time after you kill the first boss where you can do whatever you want. That will let him switch his weapon back to the Uchi, so he doesn't need to do it while fighting Elden Beast. And he also gets 2 tries on the pivot swap because Elden Beast is a scripted breath attack, which gives him a good amount of time, but still, he just needs to get these pivot swaps right away. First try on Radagon is required here.
Yeah. Radagon does have an animation of looking at you, or like turning very slowly first. So you do get a little bit of time. So nice, you got it.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Radagon.
And
Now
now he's
comes
going
the
to set it
final
up.
boss, yeah.
Exactly, now he's going to set it up, so he has the Uchi Katana ready, and he's setting up for the Elden Beast fight, which is the last boss fight of the game.
I believe he has 2 tries here, even because Elden Beast is a bit slow in the beginning. So let's see if he gets it. And that
Nice.
should be it.
Watching the health bar? Nice.
Yes, very, very nice. Time is coming up very soon.
Going to do the honors, Zyper,
I'll
on
hit
the
it.
right
Yeah.
time.
So time is as soon as we get warped back to like where we choose our endings. There are multiple endings in Elden Ring. In Blindfolded, we just go to the statue here in front of us and end it. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, for the fans, music coming up. Very
Wow.
nice.
And when we see Elden Ring, that's when the
And
time
that's
is.
time. Cutscene started. Very, very impressive. Big, big applause.
We have the flashbang moment. I love the flashbang moment. Hello.
My God, it's so bright out here.
Really?
Welcome back to the world.
Thank you so much. Yes, I hope you enjoyed that, even though we had some trouble. But yeah, that was Elden Ring Blindfolded. Thank you so much to my commentators. I must admit, I could hear you a little bit, but I don't think I gained any significant advantage for that. Still, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope we raised some money for charity. If you have anything you want to, any donations you want to go in before I go off?
No, just a huge thank you for
Okay.
that absolutely fantastic
Yes.
run.
Yes, thank you so much. Also, if you have anything you want to shout out, guys?
Yeah, I have just have something I want you to do actually. So show your keyboard to the camera. 'Cause you didn't do it at the
yes.
beginning, because Pennek's keyboard is very interesting.
Can we get this up on screen somehow? I don't know.
I think it is. It is on screen. It's up there.
Okay, yeah. I have like half my keys off, just so I don't accidentally press them when I'm meant to press something else. And I can actually thank this guy on my right for that strat. So thank you very much, Babsia.
No problem, no problem.
But yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to first of all the Speed Souls community. I'm a relatively new member. Yeah, I know some of you are in here, but they have treated me very nicely and answered any questions I had when researching for this run. And then of course all my friends who are both here and watching from home, thank you so much for checking out this run and cheering me on. And of course my lovely commentators and the crowd for watching at home. But yeah, that has been Elden Ring Blindfolded. Back to you.
All right. Once again, give it up for Pennek and this amazing run. Thank you so very much. We're going to hop on out to an intermission, and when we come back, we are going to have Mies LWD running some Metal Gear Solid. So stick around. We'll be right back.